Okay, welcome to the Freedom Hustles podcast. This is episode 47 with me, John Banks, and Andy Lehman from the Freedom Skills Academy. And hello, Andy. How are you?
I'm good, mate. How are you doing?
Yeah, very well. So
Good.
to it. New Year, Happy New Year, and all that.
Yeah, same to you.
So, did you enjoy your festive break? Everything okay?
It was a quiet one. We kept away from the world. A couple of family members were tested positive for COVID, so we had been with them, so we were kind of hiding away. But so far, we've not had it and not tested positive, so that's good.
Okay,
yeah, so how about yourself?
Yeah, same really. Quiet really, but nice to take stock and spend some time with the family. So on that note, on tonight's episode, we're going to be talking a bit about how because it's a new year, a lot of people set goals. So this is all about goal setting, targets, should you do it, and so on and so forth. I don't see any reason why people shouldn't do it. But we're going to be talking a little bit about that, and perhaps giving some, maybe even giving some of our own sort of goals and targets throughout the year. I mean, I'll just lead in really. I mean, I read a quote today, actually, funny enough, while I was thinking about this podcast, and it was, people will overestimate what they can do in 1 year, but they will underestimate what they can do in 10 years. And I think that's a really important point, because with goal setting, you don't want to stretch yourself way, you don't want to be saying, I want to make £10 million in the first year of, my first year of, trying to take on a side hustle or anything daft like that. So you have to be a bit realistic. And it is that sort of small steps approach, isn't it, that we sort of often talk about before. We've talked about it loads of times. It's about breaking stuff down, and doing things bit by bit. Because if you just improve yourself or your whatever it is you're going to try and focus on, if you just improve that 1%, say like every week or every month, then if you look at the long term, in 5 years' time, that 1% a week or 1% a month will end up being a substantial amount.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like you say, small increments are incredibly powerful. People want to change big, but I mean, look at it from this point of view. If you was to write 1 page of writing a day, I don't know how many words that is on per, but let's say it's just one Word document, one Google document, one sheet a day. By the end of the year, you've got a 365-page book or several books, and those can take you in many different places. So we're not going to talk about books or digital marketing or anything like that. But basically, what we are saying here is that that small 1 page over that period of time could then suddenly change your life completely. I mean, there's people who've landed on TV because of books that they've published, or things have happened because of that, or they made lots of money. But just writing 1 page a day is basically very, very small. Very small. I mean, it's like, think of it when you're brushing your teeth. If you brush your teeth and run a tap and you run the water all the time, at the end of the year, you've probably wasted gallons of water. But if you brush your teeth tomorrow and then start to turn the tap off between brushing, and then you measure up how much you save, you'll probably be amazed at how much water you save. So like you say, just making small little tweaks to what you do can be very powerful.
So it's about breaking stuff down. I think that's the sort of first point, really, isn't it? It's about, don't be setting these ridiculously, stupidly, almost unachievable goals. I'm not saying unachievable like forever, but unachievable in that sort of that time period. We've talked about SMART goals before, which is specific, measurable, actionable, trackable, and I can't remember what the R is. I don't know. But anyway, it's about specific and measurable being the key parts. So that's something that you can actually measure. So in your case, let's say that someone, perhaps their goal for this year is to write a book. That, as well as it would be nice to have, publish a book on your, on your goals board or on your, in your journal. That's great. Definitely write that down. Have that up there. that can be your motivation. But when it comes to setting your kind of weekly targets, you wouldn't just want to put in your book. You wouldn't want to just put down do more of book or, write book. You'd want to at least try and say maybe like one chapter or write 5 pages or, write 5,000 words, and then this habit forming starts, which is again another massive thing that we've talked about, when you're making, I don't know, let's say you've got a YouTube channel, you want to try and get into the habit of making, a video every week, or if you want to do 2 a week, or if you're blogging, you probably want to write a blog post every week, or, Instagram, doesn't matter what you're doing. You want to kind of try and form these habits, don't you?
That's it. And there's something that you've mentioned earlier when you were talking about the SMART. You said about trackable, traceable, and you've talked about this in the past with journaling. Now, this is something I'm just going to, because it's New Year's and most people make New Year's resolutions. One of the reasons why most people fail with New Year resolutions is the fact that, first of all, you said that they try and expect too much. They tend to try and change way too many things. They probably try and have a lot of resolutions instead of just having like one, trying to do that one for 30 days, then move on to another one. They try and have this whole lot, and they try and do too much together at the same time. Yeah. But they also don't track and trace. I mean, track and trace, that's very COVID into
that's phrase of the year.
Yeah, that shows how influenced we are. You said about before with journaling. Every day, if you sit down with a journal and you study what you've done the day before and you work on what you want to achieve. So if you just have like 1 or 2, 3, 4 goals, not too many, but then it's not a case of just making that decision and then trying to do it. It's a case of doing that decision, then every day monitoring and observing what you have done, how well you've been, how crap you've been, what you need to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very important thing with plans and goals. And that is, it's all right having a plan and a goal, but they're alive. If that's the right word, you work with them. You don't just sort of have them and then.
No, exactly. Yeah. And so I've got it in front of me now. I should have known this, but seeing we do this pretty much every day at work. But it's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Yeah, I think they all pretty much speak for themselves, don't they? But the point you made just then, that's exactly it. So if you're writing down your goals, if you're writing down what targets and stuff like this, you can break it down into like month or maybe a week or maybe every 3 months, something like that. But yeah, like you said, and because you've got like the day before almost, you can kind of look at did you do that? Did you finish that? What you were going to set out the day before, did you do it? And then you can obviously go on to the next stuff. And if it's something that you become, I don't know, let's say like you're in a case of, I don't know, like let's use the example again of writing a book, right? Let's say, you initially just set out something like 1,000 words, right? 1,000 words a day, which, any writer will be able to knock up in, a matter of minutes, won't they? Quarter of an hour, half an hour, whatever. So you can do that. And then after a week or after a month, you can kind of review it and you could say, well, I've done this. This was easy. I was getting through this, no problem whatsoever. So then you might want to kind of up your game a little bit or whatever you want to do. I don't want people, you don't need to get too kind of, picky about the whole thing. I think the key point is writing stuff down and kind of holding yourself accountable almost. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, here's a prime example, going back to the writing and stuff like that. Here's a prime example. Last year, I decided that for the company that I'm working for, I was going to write a daily email. So for the 5 days I'm at work, so we're not doing the weekends, we're not doing holidays. So it's not the full 365 days, but for every day, I was going to write a daily email. I've achieved that because I stuck with it because I knew that I needed to do one every day. That was the one thing. Now, after that full year, I've got the document in front of me, plus there's a couple of days from this last couple of days. I've got a Word document that has 205,285 words.
Yeah, amazing.
That's basically, they say that an average novel is about 90,000 words. So I've got 205,285 words. So that's just from writing daily emails.
Yeah.
So
It's amazing.
as you say, that is something that is,
and that's exactly that there is sums up that opening paragraph, which is, let's say you said, I want to write 300 emails. That was your initial goal. You said, I want to write 300 emails to go out to their subscribers, so they get drip fed, whether it's every day, every 2 days, or whatever. You just load it in the autoresponder, and then it's done. It's out there. It's promoting various products for the company. That's quite an overwhelming task. That's a massive task, isn't it? If you said that. However, because you said, well, I'm just going to do one a day. Yeah, this is the 1% thing. This is what we're talking about. People overestimating what they can do in a year, but underestimating what they can do in 10 years. In your case, it wasn't. It was perhaps a year and then a week. And now you've achieved it and some. I mean, that's an incredible piece of work. Yet, once you sort of break it down and, actually have a look at it, it was probably about an hour a day, wasn't it? Maybe even less than that in some cases.
It was up and down. So I would say, depending, because sometimes I'll probably struggle to think about what I think about. But here's another little sort of tip, which I suppose it goes into goals and planning. And that is, when it comes to writing emails, I have written down, it's not to hand at the moment, but I've like 5 questions to help me write an email. And so before I start writing an email, I ask these questions of myself. What did I see on TV last night that I found interesting? What have I heard or seen online that I found interesting or useful? What have I seen in real life that I thought was interesting? And it just jogs my memory to think of something up. And basically, that is a checklist, or I suppose it's like a plan or a goal. That makes the whole thing easy. But as we're talking about goals and plans, and just want to tell you this: if anybody's not quite sure the power of having a plan, the power of having a goal, there was a study done at Yale University, and I think this was probably in the 50s. I know that they asked a group of students who were just about to leave, and then they asked them, I think they traced them like 10, I think it was probably actually 20 years later in the 70s. And so this group of students who were leaving Yale University in the 50s, they asked them, had any of them got any written goals? Have they got anything written down, what they wanted to do and achieve in life? And 3% of that group, I can't remember how many it was, but 3% of that group had goals written down. When they went back 20 years later, when they studied them, they found out that the 3% who had written down plans and goals had achieved more wealth and success than the other 97% combined.
Wow.
So if anybody's questioning why it's important to have goals or plans, is because it stops you from bumbling from left, right, and centre. Basically, it gives you a map. It was like driving a car, isn't it? Was it John Lennon said, you can get to anywhere if you just jump on any old road, but if you need to go somewhere, you need to know the destination. You need a map. And so it's very important that you have a goal. And like I say, New Year is a good time to sort of sit down, get a notepad, ask yourself certain questions. It's like, what is it that you want to achieve? What do you want? What is it you want at the end of the year? And as you say, you break it down into yearly, 3 yearly, 5 yearly, and then you sort of, I suppose, back engineer it. Where do you want to be in 5 years? Back engineer it and break it down to, what can you do this month? What can you do this week? What can you do tomorrow? And I think that's where the journaling bit comes into it, because it seems a lot of work to try and work out what you're going to do every week, every day for 5 years. But you kind of, like you said, you break them into easier steps. So you know what you're going to do, where you want to be next year and the year after that. But each day you sort of sit there and think, right, well, I want to do this. I did this yesterday, and that's how I'm going to get to sort of that place. And like I say, it's something that you should probably spend at least 5-10 minutes every day doing.
Yeah, I agree.
Actively.
I completely agree. I mean, I do it most days. I will say I don't do it every day, but I will do it most days. I just jot down, stuff that I want to do like tomorrow, and then I just reflect on that the following day. Did I do it? Some of it's like mini tasks, so like real basic stuff. Like it might be something like go and interact with 10 people on Instagram, or just comment on 10 Instagram posts. Right, you can do that. In your tea break at work, or you can do that probably on the commute to work, or you can do that 20 minutes before you go to bed at night. That's how easy it is. But it's just forming that habit. And because you do that, if you do that every day, all of a sudden you've interacted with 300 people in the month, then you're going to get some of them people interact back with you.
Yeah.
Then things happen, partnerships, clients, they could follow you, they could like your stuff, they could subscribe to your channel, you could do the same to them. And that's how it all kind of starts. So they're like the sort of micro habits, if you like. And then, yeah, like you said then, and then just putting down some, I don't want to go into the sort of positive and negativity type world, but
Yeah.
I think it's massive when you do journaling, like to write down the positive stuff, like writing down goals, because they are like a positive thing. They're something that you want to accomplish, and a sense of accomplishment and a sense of achievement is a positive thing, even as so much as like making the bed in the morning. That's like a task complete, and the brain reacts to stuff like that, reacts to positive stuff. People underestimate how powerful words are, just writing words down, and the negative impact. If you the negative side of it as well, if you talk negatively about yourself, or if you write negatively stuff down that you're never going to achieve, the blah, blah, blah. Not that you would, but if you ever get into that trap, it has a tremendously bad effect. It can really, really subside the other way.
That's a good couple of points there, because I'll just bring into a couple of points there for what you're just saying. First of all, it's not necessarily magically woo-woo law of attraction stuff. It is basic psychology. You do perform better when you feel better, and you feel better is when you accept a lot or celebrate a lot more positive stuff.
Yeah.
When you start focusing on like lots of negative stuff, you get depressed and you get a bit sluggish, so you don't do anything. But what you said about words are incredibly powerful, and I saw this the other day and I really like this. When you think of like witches, they cast spells, when you cast spells. So to understand the power of word, you've got to understand that words are, you spell a word. Mm-hmm. They are spellings. Mm-hmm. So it's like they say, the words that you use are basically casting a spell on your mind. And it's kind of like really powerful when you think about it. Yeah, a word, you spell a word, and a spell is something that you cast. So focusing every day on something good is not woo-woo. It's just basically getting yourself into a position where, watch your comedy, do something that makes you feel good, because it's well known that you do stuff when you feel better. You try doing stuff when you feel crap, you can't.
It's really hard to get going again, isn't it? Yeah, motivation.
I mean, I don't want to go into it too much, but I remember rightly that when the sins were translated into English, the sin of sloth was originally meant to be, because they always say it's lazy, but because of over the years we've understood mental health, people who are depressed always came across as being lazy, because a lazy person doesn't want to get out of bed, they just wear the sluggish clothes, sit in front of the TV, eat chocolate.
Yeah.
Depression used to get mixed up with that, and so the sin of sloth has become sort of the idea, the belief that it's laziness. The sin of sloth, I do believe, was originally translated from the idea that it was a sin to allow yourself to spend long periods of time in periods of self-imposed depression, basically focusing on wallowing and in bad negative thoughts and emotions. So basically the sin of sloth was keeping yourself in a depressed state, because when you're in a depressed state, you don't function.
No.
So like you say, the whole purpose is you've got to be the gatekeeper of your own mind, and setting goals and planning stuff like that is incredibly powerful. And one of the other problems that people have when they're setting goals for the year or for their future is that you spend the morning, an hour, writing stuff down in a book, you feel good, you feel pumped, then you go off, do your stuff, and then you forget about them. Which is why a lot of the successful people, they have what they call goal cards.
Yeah.
So you can this is going back to sort of journaling. So with like a journaling, you'll probably have, as you open up your book, you can have your goals on one side and then do all your figuring out. But basically, if you have a goal, and like you said, if you've broken down from, instead of like a 5-year goal, you've broken down into sort of more manageable goals, you write them down on something that you can read regularly, because that is reminding you. And that is similar to, like you say, celebrating, making the bed, or something that is putting you in that right frame of mind for actually putting the work in that is required. So it's very important that when you set your goals, to look at them as often as you can, because otherwise you're going to forget about them. If you forget about them, you're not going to do anything. So stick them on a card, stick them in a book, stick on a piece of paper on your wall where you work, just so that you can see them. Because every now and again, you just need to see something and go, oh yeah, I was supposed to do that, wasn't I?
So that's a lot like the sort of visual aspect of stuff, isn't it? Like trying to almost like the daily reminders. A lot of people have visual boards, don't they? I don't have one.
They do.
I know you used to have one, didn't you? I don't know if you still got it, but a lot of people do like, so they'll have like, even like, so by their computer is a great place because they're obviously sat there working, and then perhaps behind their computer or something like that, they'll have like a visual board, and it might have like, some words of encouragement, or it might have some things that they want to like achieve, or it might have, I don't know, whether it's money or lifestyle or, travel or whatever it is, or to spend more time with the kids. They might have some of that up there. So it's just like a daily reminder as to kind of why they're sort of sat there doing what they're doing. Do you know what I mean?
Vision boards are great, but they do have a bit of a problem. I think they've been sold to people wrongly. It's all right having a vision board, but a vision board just basically shows you the end product.
Yeah.
But
it
doesn't. You don't know. You're not going to get the end product if you don't know how you're going to get the end product.
Exactly.
It's simple as, which is going back to the journaling or the goals or the plans. As you said, doing the tracking and the S.M.A.R.T stuff, where it was the measurable.
So that's
you're measuring your success.
The measurable, the M and the R. So the measurable and the realistic. So they're the two key points from that. Like you say, something that you can measure. So something that almost daily or weekly, you can definitely have a look at and say, did I actually do that? And the realistic being, we use the book analogy again. Don't just put, write a book, because that isn't really very realistic. It's certainly not even measurable. Whereas if you had write one page, write 1,000 words, write one chapter, fine. That's much better. And that's what starts and builds the momentum. So yeah, quite a lot of stuff to take away really from it. I don't really know what else to add other than, I would say the key point being for me anyway, is the sort of what we said at the top, which is the sort of smart, actionable stuff. Be realistic, daily journaling, brilliant. But yeah, anything else to sort of add on it?
Basically, if you can't do like a daily journalism, if you can't do that at least once a month, spend half an hour, possibly more, but spend some time sort of writing out what you want to achieve in the following month. Have a look at what you've done so far, write them down. You see, I have 2 books roughly, sort of, I pen things down in one book, which then I go through. So I scribble lots of stuff down, and out of that list, and I pick things which I think is more me, what I want. Because you can have there's always somebody who wants to be a lawyer, a cowboy, a train driver, and an astronaut. Eventually, you're going to have to choose which one you want. I think Steve Jobs once said that the most successful entrepreneur is not the person who does particularly something, it's the 999 things he says no to. It's like the laser focus. So you can write down lots of stuff on a sheet of paper, choose the ones that you really want to do, or you think you can achieve that month, or what resonates with you, then write that into another book. And then you've got yourself a better list of goals, a better list of targets to work at. And then again, like I say, take the most important ones from them if you want, stick them on a sheet or a card and have them next to your computer so you see them regularly. So if you can't do stuff daily, if you're limited time, at least try and do something a month. Because they say every day is basically, it's like a blank page. You write in your future, and in your book, you are actually writing your future. Because if you don't, if you wanted to be a joiner, you figure out how you're going to be a joiner, and you go to college to become a joiner. Everything in life is the results of what you basically do and think. They are based on your decisions and your actions. And so you've obviously got to try and figure out which is the best actions that you want to have the better life. So you need to spend some time sitting down, writing it all out.
So I'll link to a previous episode that reminded me of actually what you were saying. So we did a previous episode a while back called 1 hour per day. And that was that was exactly about kind of some of the points you just made then, about, breaking stuff down and, finding the time, if you like, and then, just kind of slotting it in. And, in the case of just a real focused effort on one thing, and if you did only do 1 hour per day on that one thing, soon enough, in a month, that's 30 hours. In 2 months, that's 60 hours, and 60 hours on one thing is a lot of time. So, it's amazing what you can get done in when you break it down like that. Okay. Well, I think we'll wrap it up. So yeah, quite a lot of takeaways there. I'll definitely try and link out some of the previous episodes because I think we might have touched on a few points that we've covered before. Certainly on the certainly the 1 hour per day. Another one I think called Find Your Why, which I think has got some relevant points.
Definitely, definitely.
So thanks very much for listening. That was episode 47. One of our goals is definitely going to be to try and do more of these more regularly. We'll try and get into a bit more of a regular routine with this. I know obviously you've got a few things going on at the moment with moves and that, but we'll try and squeeze them in a bit more regular. Thanks very much for listening. My name is John Banks. You can find me over at sidingcommand.com and the Freedom Skills Academy.
Yep. I'm Andy Lehman, and just again, thank you very much for listening. So tune in again next week. Not sure what we're going to talk about, but we'll be here with some more, hopefully, useful and interesting information. Thanks very much. Goodbye.
Thanks very much. Cheers.